everyone, and welcome to Global Outlook. I'm Mary Sitt. Did you ever make a lemonade stand when you were younger, hoping to make a few extra bucks? Well, our next guest joined his older brothers when he was 3 years old, and they all became lemonade entrepreneurs, and then they gave all their profits away. Here to tell us more is Ashton Kao. He's a senior at Strake Jesuit College Prep School, and he's already an experienced entrepreneur. Ashton, why didn't you keep that lemonade money?
Hi. So back in 2008, when I was only about 3 years old, I joined my two older brothers in a lemonade stand because my mom had always been active about service and was very enthusiastic about getting us into the same sort of drive that she had. And why not? The best idea, the craze around that time was having a lemonade stand. I think what every kid was doing back then. And so I wanted a lemonade stand in the first place to support a cause of ours. Each of us had individual causes. Mine happened to be buying a herd of goats for some African villagers. I don't know why my heart was set on
buying goats for some African villagers. Okay, that's good.
Yes, goats.
Yeah.
It was an interesting idea. I don't know why, but I loved it so much, and I didn't really have the deepest pockets when I was 3 years old. So I was limited to raising money by the lemonade stand. And so at first we were posted up next to our nearest Kroger, HEB, some grocery store.
And you guys made $100, right?
Yes, we made $100.
That's a lot, yeah.
It seemed a lot, and it did not come easy because no one was buying lemonade at first. So in order for us to have our sales pitch, it wasn't really a sales pitch, it's just my brothers pushing me into oncoming pedestrians and me using my
put the cute brother in front of the crowd. Got it.
yes, to guilt trip them into buying the lemonade. And it worked. So 100 people bought a lemonade. And even though, yes, 100's a lot back then for us, but split it 3 ways, paid for the cause, it ended up not being that much money, to go towards buying a herd of goats in Africa. And so even though the amount wasn't a lot, I think it was the principle that mattered to me. It really showed the spark of my beginning and what I stood for and how I wanted to make a business in order to support the funds and the causes that I wanted to support. And I think that really showed the start of everything. But yes.
You met a lady with another lemonade stand, is that right? And you ended up giving your money to her or something? You met someone, is that right? And she was outside of a pet store? Do you remember that story?
I'm not too familiar with the pet store.
Okay. All right. But you did raise money and you gave it away to another cause, which is great. And throughout the years you've been doing this, you've been raising money, making money, and giving it away. You started with flipping houses. Tell me about that and how did that happen?
So my father is the most hardworking man I know. He's a hardworking real estate investor / developer. And so I guess he's always wanted, as well as my mother, to involve us in the business and to get us started on the path that he felt would suit us the best. And back in 2012 was the first time that we flipped a house together as a family, involving my brothers and him. I was only around, 8 years old. And so I was this tiny kid, chubby face. And I remember plugging in all the outlets and screwing in stuff, painting the walls. And he just put me right next to the contractors. And I was just working alongside them, eating lunch with them, conversing with them in my 8-year-old speech. And it was a really memorable experience because I got my first experience yet again of what it was like to develop a house and flip a house. And we had gone through the whole thing, talking to the realtor. There's this whole other thing of my questions I asked her. I'll tell you later about that. But going to the realtor, selling to the actual buyers. Obviously, I was the charmer and the sweet talker of the deal. So I was the one to get a little extra dollars for us. And,
this is when you were buying the house in order to flip the house. Is that it?
This was when we were selling the house to the buyer.
Okay.
They were this Chinese Mongolian couple, and they just loved me so much because whenever they would come over and talk about the house, I would always drink their tea. So the wife would always pour out tea, and I didn't know that she wouldn't stop pouring until I stopped drinking. So I was like, throwing them down, and she loved it. She's like, "Oh, you're so sweet. You love my tea." And so I got an extra $1,000 on the deal because of that. And so from the profits I made, even from that deal, we didn't even make that much, but it was enough for all of us.
So Ashton, you use half the profits to start something called the Awesome Fund, right? And tell me briefly about the Awesome Fund. You find causes to support it, right? And give it away.
So that was the first sort of organization that I found between me and my brothers, because we through the years we were growing our facets of giving, and we wanted to go into something bigger than just a tiny lemonade stand and just doing small unorganized work. So this was our first organized sort of giving.
Over the years, you've given Chromebooks away to high school senior refugees going to college, right? You give about 12 a year. Is that right?
Years, easily over 100 over the years, because I know how it's important to be going to college and needing the right tools to succeed.
And you do back to school supplies, right, for low income students?
And we give backpacks and all the school supplies, not just for high schoolers, but for middle schoolers and young kids at my parents' apartments for underserved refugees, yes.
And you don't forget about the refugees during the holidays. You give holiday Christmas presents to them. Is that right? All this comes from the Awesome Fund. Is that right?
Yeah. This is all from the Awesome Fund and even from our own pockets. So I didn't get Christmas presents up until, I don't know, I didn't even ask for presents, because I would just give up my own Christmas money to go towards the funds, as well as my brothers.
Okay, so I've never heard of a kid who gives away their own Christmas money to somebody else. Right? That's a big deal.
I know. Whenever I told people I didn't get Christmas presents, they thought I was either Jewish or I was crazy. So,
why do you do that, Ashton? Why do you give away the money you earn? What motivates you?
Being honest with you, totally honest. It's not some sort of cheesy saying. I honestly enjoy it more to see their joy on their face than for me to just get a new Xbox or something. I really feel that, and my mom taught me this too. Whatever you give out, you receive 10 times back. So I feel the joy reflected in them is a lot more than the joy I would feel if I just received something, some new gaming console or whatever, some new sneakers. It's much better for me to see the impact I have on someone else's life. And I feel like
you got really good training. I remember once you said your mom taught you how to give and your dad taught you how to make the money. And
that's right.
Taught you how to give it away.
That's right. My mom loves it.
One of the things you're helping out is mental health among teenagers. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so recently with the COVID spike, we've seen trends of mental health issues in teenagers specifically. And I know that being a teenager, especially, can be really difficult at times, with a load of schoolwork, managing relationships. It can be a lot, as well as extracurriculars. And so we really wanted, with our organizations, to target these issues. What's the most crucial thing that needs the most help at the moment? And during COVID, we felt, teenagers with their mental health. And so we've directed a lot more of our funding towards these issues in order to combat that. But yes.
That's great. You gave money to the Chinese Community Center, I believe, right, to help with programs that will help with mental health. And finally, one of the newest things you're involved in is real estate for teens. Now, teenagers don't have enough money to invest in that. So what do you do with that? What is real estate for teens?
Yeah, so Real Estate for Teens is a club I founded outside of my school with the help of some other students. And basically, Real Estate for Teens stands to exist to spread awareness to high schoolers around the Houston area. It's welcome to everyone. And basically, we realized that real estate is sort of a high barrier to entry for many people, not even just high schoolers, many people beyond that. But I want to let them know that it's not that far beyond their grasp. And the goal is not for them to just start investing right away and just ruin their credit score. But it's for them to realize you can take action now. You don't have to wait until you're 18 and the adult years have dawned upon you and you realize it's too late.
Do you have a website up there anywhere yet?
Yes, we do have a Real Estate for Teens website. It's if you just search our Real Estate for Teens Club,
it'll show up. Ashton Kao, thank you so much for being with us, and best of luck
with
all of your ventures. Appreciate it. Coming up. Coming up next, an iconic shopping center in Chinatown gets an extreme makeover in order to make it a fun destination. Stay with us.
Natural disasters are a fact of life in the U.S. And between activities and school, chances are you won't be with your kids when they happen. Will they know what to do? Ready.gov/kids can help your children feel prepared, not scared. So talk with your family today.
Sometimes what you need just shows up. Houston Community College has your back, whether you're knocking out some basics or upping your game for a better job. Enroll today for spring classes and frame your future with HCC.
Our next guest planned an extreme makeover for a shopping center on Bel Air many of you may be familiar with, D-Host Shopping Center, anchored by the Welcome Grocery Store and the HPD storefront. Well, just before the pandemic hit, the owners had planned a major renovation to update this 1980s space. Then the pandemic hit. So our next guest is going to tell us how she overcame those challenges. Beatrice Wong is the managing director of D Square. Beatrice, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so you had planned to do a major renovation, pandemic hits, everything shuts down. What do you do?
Try not to panic. So a storm can sink boats. Try not to get sank, but a storm can also clear a lot of the path for us. We didn't know how long COVID is going to last. So a lot of the planning were modified. So in the beginning, thinking, oh, it's January, COVID is going to be gone by July. So we're like, okay, let's give our tenants some rent abatements, right? Because we can last through this. And then by July, it didn't happen. And July was the time that we actually thought, oh no, we got to plan longer term. So think about a renovation that costs millions of dollars. Every month, there are a giant check going out. So our cash flow, it's draining rapidly because of renovation. When we give our tenants rent abatement, our top line, our revenue is also draining. We gave all our tenants throughout COVID at least 4 months of rent abatement for dance studio, for hair salon, where the mandatory shutdown is longer. We give them more support.
Wait. Beatrice, when you say rent abatement, you mean they did not have to pay rent for 4 months?
Rent abatement, so it's a scale tier. So in the beginning, like it's a 50% rent abatement, 50% rent abatement, and towards the later part, it really depends on the situation. When business start opening, when restaurant can do takeout, then we reduce it to say 20%. So yes, it is a giant cash reduction on our end because we're doing it for all our tenants.
Right. You wanted them to succeed. You wanted them to be successful, not have to just fold and close the doors, right?
Yes. We want to help them through this. And we have a mix, we have a lot of mom and pop businesses. Mm-hmm. But our philosophy is to be fair and consistent. So even though businesses that do well, it's not fair to say, you're doing well, we're not helping you. So we decided to help everyone in the same consistent manner.
You have a philosophy, and I thought it was really interesting, that you don't necessarily have to be nice to businesses or to your clients. Be nice to your friends, but not to clients. Can you explain that a little more?
So I think as a leader or as someone whom people want to work with you, it is most important to be fair and consistent. Imagine if you're nice to one tenant and go, okay, no problem. And then another tenant come and you're like, oh, I can't do that. Then imagine how you would feel as a tenant. So I think fairness and consistency, regardless of situation, they would know, okay, she's going to say this because she's going to be fair to everyone. And it doesn't matter if you're a big business, small business, you rent 10,000 square feet or 1,000 square feet, for sure, if you're a tenant in our shopping center, it will be a very fair and, again, fair and consistent. And I think it's important to be nice, but not when it comes to policies. We can be understanding. We can help them create package that follows the rule, like the payment plans. Right. If you have issue, we'll work with you. But there are things, for example, there are things that tenants are responsible, like AC. We can't step over the line and say, oh, we'll fix it for you, because then we'll have to do it for all the other tenants.
Right. So don't be nice, but be fair and consistent.
Yeah.
Bumper sticker. I like that. I remember you told me that one time.
Fair and consistent above kindness. Yeah.
And you did some things, Beatrice, you did some things during the pandemic that really you didn't think anybody else was doing that in terms of as an owner or developer person. Tell me what you did that no one else did. What was unique?
typically when a tenant's business is struggling and they early terminate, the landlord can sue them and they will sue them for all the remaining terms. So say if you have a 10 years lease and your business unfortunately fell and you want to give up the space in 5 years, the landlord will sue you for the rest of the 5 years terms for the rest of the money because the landlord already paid commission, they already paid TI, they paid everything in advance of it. So in business terms, that's very fair. And that's what happened in most of Houston shopping centers. A lot of tenants, when they shut down during COVID, because they couldn't afford rent or hiring, the landlord sued them. For us, we took a different route. Because we're doing the renovation, because we're fully confident that we'll be transforming the shopping center, and because we also understand, when a situation happens, in such a big scale, not everyone wants to be in it. And when there's a trouble and it's so large scale, it's better to just get it over with. So we gave the tenants like choices. And these are the tenants who are struggling even pre-COVID, like some of the businesses in Chinatown, you well know, $10 t-shirt. But with Amazon open,
right,
$10 t-shirt
right.
everywhere. So these are struggling businesses that even pre-COVID, they have issues surviving. So we go to them and we offer them, we can let you off the hook. If you close this month, we give you 2 weeks to decide, and then you have 2 weeks to move out. Then we will let you off the hook for all the remaining balances that are due. So we give them a chance to be relieved and give ourselves a chance not to be tangled in a tough, dragging, lingering situation. So that way we can focus our resources on the tenants that can ride the storm with us. And I think that's sort of important.
And Beatrice, that's sort of a win-win thing because they get out of it without a huge debt over them to pay back everything. And then you get to curate your tenants so you get the mix that you want to make this a fun destination place, right?
It is a win-win. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't see that. When you get, when you focus on what is right, what's wrong, what's fair, what's not, there's a lot of emotional and time and brawl in it. And I don't think that's worth the management efforts. I think we're better on building goodwill because, things do come around.
Right. Tell me about some of the tenants you have now. You have some really fun tenants. One is from China, a franchise, the Hot Pot restaurant, right?
So it's called Malu Bian Bian, and they really wanted the space because Malu Bian Bian means by the streets. And they wanted the anchor tenant that is like right by the street. The owner is amazing. And a lot of it shows about how he, I guess it really shows about the entrepreneur spirits when they first opened. So it's a very trendy, contemporary business franchise in China. China, it's super competitive. So for business to thrive, there must be some differentiation factor. So they do hot pot not with the typical chopstick. You put the meat, the veggies in the hot pot. They do it in a skewer style. So it's interactive. The customer goes to like a wall panel with a lot of fridge, and you can pick exactly what you want to eat. So meats are put on skewers, vegetable put on skewers, and then you just dip the skewers into the hot pot. So it's very clean and sanitary. You're not like, sticking 30 chopstick in there and you just take the skewer out. So the whole thing is very interactive, very contemporary, very clean. And of course, when they opened in New York, it was like a success. And our tenant brought it went to China, negotiated the whole thing, and brought it into Houston.
And everything down to the actual hot pot itself is from China, right? The chairs, the decor, the posters. Great.
And that's the thing with a franchise. Yeah, everything has to be imported. So when you sit on it as an American, you're like, wait, this feels like I'm in a school, in a primary school, so pretty low.
It's just a little bit lower. It's still good. It's still comfortable. And then you have a fun restaurant called Honey Pig, is that right?
Yeah.
I love the name. That's a Korean one. Tell me about that.
So Honey Pig so in the shopping center, we try to do a lot of, we will try to make the shopping center an Asian destination, right? So all the stores that open should have authenticity behind it. So Malu Bian Bian is really when you walk in, you feel like you're in China. And Honey Pig, when you walk in, you try to feel like you're in contemporary Korea. So there are a lot of TV playing like K-pop music. But most importantly, when Korean barbecue was first started, a lot of the time, people work hard in Korea after World War II, and a lot of the time they would eat in the metal shed by the street, just grilling barbecue, and everyone just kind of huddle and eat there. And Honey Pig tried to create that, so they used a lot of the metal panels as the interior decoration. So it's a mixture of authenticity, culture. Both places have a lot of cultural themes, and which is what I think.
In addition to all of these different mix of interesting tenants and fun tenants you have, you also reconstructed the outside. So it looks airier. You put ceiling fans up on the outside. So people, when they walk from store to store, they feel cool, right?
Yes. So, I mean, that's the life cycle of, we're an iconic shopping center. We're one of the first in Chinatown. Having said that, it also means we're old, we're archaic, we're like the old people center. To revive that, we have to do a lot of the layout changes, adding in what the current, not just the current, but also the future generation needed, like technology, LED screen, nature, more greens, more plants, more lifestyle zone. That's why all the giant fans were put in. Bricks, something that when you walk, you actually slow down your pace. So it's more enjoyable rather than just, get from one place to another space.
So we did experience.
Yes, right. It is, because right now the generation are much more demanding than we were.
Right. All right, we're going to take a little break right now, but we'll be right back with more from Beatrice Wong, who will give us tips on how you can succeed in your own business.
La forma en la que ves tus opciones puede cambiar en un minuto. Houston Community College te ayuda a encontrar tu camino con más de 200 programas que te abren oportunidades a puestos de trabajo. Inscríbete hoy para las clases de primavera y enfoca tu futuro con HCC.
Hey, Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry, I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Do clouds take naps?
I couldn't tell you.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look!
We've been talking to Beatrice Wong, the managing director of D Square in Chinatown. Beatrice has had years of experience traveling around the world, consulting with one of the big 3 consulting firms, Bain. So Beatrice, you have lots of experience, not only with this shopping center in Houston, but also around the world, helping clients all over the place. What 3 tips would you give to students who want to become successful entrepreneurs?
I think the first one is think out of the box. When I first started working, an uncle once told me, oh, it's so hard to be a kind person and be successful in business. But then the more I worked, the more I realized he was wrong. He only knew it was difficult because he sees things in a 0-1 way. It's either I win, then you lose, or you win, then I lose. That's why it's hard to be kind and successful. However, when we think about things in a win-win situation where we create a bigger pie, and that's what I meant by thinking out of the box, we can create a bigger pie. So he can have 1, I can have 1, or maybe he can have 2 and I can have 2, or he can have 2 and I can have 1. But the whole thing is, it is not difficult. It's actually very easy when we think the situation and think about not what is the actual constraint, but what can we do about the situation? What are the real value? So I think that is the first one. And I think the second one is don't be afraid of making mistakes. We all do. When we call it a mistake the moment we made it, but when we learn from it, when we incorporate it in what we do, then we don't call that a mistake. We call that wisdom. We call that experience. We call that exposure. And I have a lot of wisdom, meaning I have made a lot of mistakes to get to where I am. Lastly is stay flexible. Many may not know, but almost all successful businesses, they change from their original model. I mean, you can count Google, PayPal, Facebook, Apple. Their original starting model isn't what makes them tick right now. It's a lot of discovery. It's a lot of challenges. And most of them almost fail, run out of cash or run out of believer. But luckily, they found a sweet spot. And then they just keep fighting, staying flexible, keep discovering, and keep persevering through. So there will be many, many tough challenges ahead, but don't worry, just stay persevering.
Okay, so 3 tips. Think outside the box. Make that pie bigger for everybody. Don't be afraid to make mistakes, even though it may cost money. I can just see, I just made a mistake and that's like $500 down the drain. But don't be afraid. And number 3, stay flexible, right?
Yes, the mistake are the investment in the future.
Okay, that's right. I like that. So what are the most common mistakes you see new entrepreneurs making?
Wise people are afraid of just taking the first step, thinking, oh, it's called the fear of failure. But don't think about that because it's okay to fail. It's just how we handle a situation when challenges happen. I have a lot of friends who failed. However, they back them up, and they built a second business, and that just thrive.
In this environment, Beatrice, with supply chain issues, with inflation, with labor shortage, are there certain things you would advise people to do when they're trying to start out in this environment?
Yes. One of the amazing pro and con for entrepreneur is they really believe in the model and they think they can make it. And that's amazing because that's the spirit you need. But on the flip side, if you want to enter an industry, look at those who have failed and think about how am I different from them? Like make a balanced decision, like fight for it, go for it, but at the same time, be wise about it.
Okay, that's good. Are there certain industries or niches you would say are like really hot now that people is open for people to move into?
For the next generation, obviously anything to do with technology is hot. I think the next future language is definitely coding. Having said that, right now with such high inflation, if you have a lot of cash, property investment will be one, is anti-inflationary. I don't believe I think in the next 2 years, inflation is going to keep high. Disruptive technology may manage that down a little bit, but still our money is going to depreciate. So anything that's anti-inflationary, when you have a lot of cash is good. But if you think about Korea, I think it really depends on what long-term horizon, what time frame you have in mind. Okay. So for someone like us, that may be real estate right now, but for a younger generation, fresh out of college, that may be a longer term career path that can keep evolving.
Very good. Great advice. Beatrice Wong, of Managing Director of D-Square, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
That's all for this edition of Global Outlook. We'll see you again every Friday and Sunday, 7:30 a.m. and p.m. and Saturday at 10 a.m. on Comcast Channel 19. Or you can download a podcast to go on our website, hccs.edu/podcast, or watch a full video version anytime, day or night, on HCC's YouTube channel. Thanks for watching. I'm Mary Sitt. See you next time.